you're with us at Cooking with Joe and Pat again. This is in conjunction with Hillcrest Y. You know what we didn't say last week?
What didn't we say?
Thank you, Tim. Joe's son, Tim Cicero, is filming for us. And since I am technologically inept and Joe is busy cooking, we really appreciate him being here. So thank you, Joe. We want to start with that before we forget.
And Tim. Yeah, you're waving. He's waving to everybody. He won't talk. So today we thought we'd continue along the same lines and make something fresh because all the vegetables that are growing in our gardens and the produce at the stores. So today Pat came up with a great recipe and she gave me a choice. And I chose this one because I like this one a lot because it's so fresh and refreshing to eat.
And I was happy you did because I do too. And as you said, the peppers, the cucumbers, the tomatoes, they're all right now growing in your garden and at peak. So we're very happy about this. It's called Panzanella. There's a lot of different approaches as to what the name means. The most common one is pan, meaning bread, zanella, a little basket, because the Tuscan farmers would bring their lunch in this little basket. They would put bread that they had, leftover bread that they had soaked in water, put the onions and vinegar on top of it, and bring it to work. So that's the most common.
You know, Italians don't waste anything. So stale bread gets either ground up to be breadcrumbs or to make a panzanella.
And if you're, we go and buy a loaf of bread, but if you spent the day making it, it's a little more important to use every bit of that. You just put a lot of time and effort and everything into it. So we're going to start by making our bread. When we cut bread, I brought a baguette. You could use Tuscan bread, you could use Italian bread, whatever you want. There's something hearty. When you cut bread, I want to show you just a little trick. This is a carving knife. A lot of people saw with it. Mm-hmm. It's like this. You just need to go down and back, 2 cuts.
2 cuts?
It doesn't squash the bread. 2 cuts. So that's how this knife is actually meant to be used, not that compresses and makes things all squishy. So we're going to make some slices. The recipe makes a lot. It calls for 6 to 8 cups of bread. That's actually only about 6 full slices, or maybe 10 or 12 of these. Mm-hmm. And we're going to cut it into, you can do that.
Well, what am I going to cut it into?
Maybe
squares?
like 1-inch cubes, maybe squares. Frankly, if you didn't like cutting that much, you could just rip it. The reason we're doing this is just to make the bread dry.
I like ripping.
Well, rip it. That gives a lot of nice little nooks and crannies that will toast better.
Yeah, I like that better.
And we're going to toast it.
So why do we toast it?
Well, to make it dry enough, so one, we're going to add a little olive oil and salt so it has more flavor, but by just toasting it even plain or letting it sit out to dry, it absorbs the liquids better, so you get more flavor and it has a little more crunch.
Okay. I'm doing nice sized pieces because I want the vinaigrette, the dressing, to soak up into the bread, because that really, believe me, gives it a great flavor. Kind of bursts in your mouth when you bite onto to the crouton.
And actually, this salad gets better and better the next day because the bread gets a little soggier, it absorbs a little more, it gets that burst of flavor that you're talking about.
Now, you can use this as a salad, but what else could you use it on?
You could use this if you chopped it finer on bruschetta. You could also use it just by adding some shrimp or chicken or different cheeses like feta or mozzarella or something to make a full protein meal. Okay. Or beans. So what we're going to do, the way people mostly toast these is in the oven. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you ever remember watching Rachel Ray when she was back on Food Channel. She burnt it every time. It's harder to cook toast in the oven. Plus, let's face it, it's been 90 degrees. We don't want to put the oven on. So we're going to toast it on this stovetop in a skillet.
I got a nice big
You've got a beautiful skillet.
My restaurant style skillet.
Absolutely. And Joe's going to put it in. We're going to drizzle a little olive oil over it. Just a little. Not necessary. You could toast just dry, but heck, why not have a little more flavor? We'll just do that. We'll sprinkle a little bit of salt on. and then we'll put it over medium-high. It takes about 3 or 4 minutes. We'll flip it a little and give it, and again, the salt's not necessary, but it adds a little
flavor.
Yeah.
Salt enhances all the flavors of whatever you put it on.
That's right.
It kind of brings it out.
It makes it more so.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay, while I do this, what are you going to do?
Well, first of all, I'm going to come over with you and I'm going to show you. I told you I had a trick for you.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Medium
So
high.
Joe, medium high, and we'll toss it in a few minutes just to, we'll be able to, the nice thing is we're going to be able to see the color get on it, whereas in the oven you
gotta
smell
watch.
the burnt and then you know you're there.
So what's the trick?
So Joe likes to wear his apron tied in front like this, and a lot of chefs do because they like to keep a side towel with them.
Yes.
The side towel is to be able to grab a hot pot or whatever. Jacques, wipe your hands, you know, catch a spill. Jacques Pepin has a very clever little way to put his side towel in. Instead of tucking it and then you untuck it, he takes it by the corner and he just takes one corner and goes like this. It stays just fine and boom.
Boom. Right on.
That's just a little chef's magic trick for you. Just wrap. And you got it there with you.
Ready? Boom. Thank you.
The magic is in the food, not the
Yes, the magic's always in the food.
So let's start by making our dressing because we want to put our onions in first, and the dressing is very simple. We're using garlic powder rather than fresh garlic. Do you know when we use powder versus
No, why don't you tell me?
when it dissolves easily? We want a fast dissolve rather than a long, slow. So what will you do is, here we go. I'm going to let you measure.
How many?
We're going to use a teaspoon of garlic powder. If you prefer to use real garlic, 1 teaspoon of powder equals about 1 clove of garlic. But you would need to let it set a little longer.
I overdo garlic all the time.
Hey, I'm with you. I like garlic.
This smells great.
Tom sometimes pulls in the driveway and he walks in the house and says, "You're cooking with garlic, aren't you?" You can smell it in the driveway. So Dijon mustard. We're going to use a teaspoon of that too. Very simple dressing. And by the way, this dressing is great on a lot of salads. You can use this in a lot of places. Dijon mustard
This is such a small jar of Dijon mustard. I always have
the big guy.
the big guy.
Sometimes I buy for carrying around, though sometimes I just can't buy another one. We're going to put at 1½ teaspoons of salt, of sugar, and a ½ teaspoon of salt. Do you know that? So the Dijon mustard is going to help them not only add flavor, but it's going to have
Sugar?
That's sugar, yes.
How many?
And that's 1½ tablespoons. You use sugar a lot when you're using tomato and vinegary products, don't you, Joe?
I do.
To sort of balance that out.
Yeah, especially
Cut the
when you want to
acid.
get the acid out.
You could also use honey, but it would be add a
Salt
little.
again?
The salt is 1½ teaspoon. I'm sorry, I'm reading wrong. I'm just going to do the pepper. It's only 1/4 teaspoon. It's always nice to use fresh pepper. The Dijon is to help emulsify. Oil and vinegar, water and oil, they don't like to mix. When you add the Dijon, it helps them. I used to tell people when we did classes for kids that it was like you're at a party and all the people are lined up over there from one school and all the people are lined up over here from another. And then someone comes in and goes, "Hey, that's my cousin Joe, that's my cousin Tim," and he emulsifies
it. I love it.
I don't know that that's exactly, where did I have the whisk? Oh, right in front of me, right in front of me. So we're gonna just give that a little mix, and we're gonna add 3 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. And why we're putting this in right now instead of at the end is because you're going to hear me say this all the time. Salt does not dissolve in oil. Sugar does not dissolve in oil. So we want this to dissolve. And you can see.
I love red wine vinegar.
I do too. You can see that it is
emulsifying.
Yeah, it's making. We don't have clumps of salt and clumps of dressing. And then all we need to do is add our olive oil. How about if I pour and you whisk?
Sounds good.
And the key to the olive oil is to keep whisking. That's that emulsifier. I'm going to pour it in here just because it's easier to. sort of get an idea. You can cut back, you can add, depending on what you like here. But we're going to add it slowly. And by adding it slowly, we're
Get
not...
a good close-up of this, Tim.
See how Joe's whisking so that there's no oil slick on it. It's blending completely, and that's because you're breaking up those molecules so finely that they don't know enough to clump together. They're staying in it. That looks beautiful. That looks absolutely beautiful.
It looks great. It smells great.
It's not like when you buy it at the store and you have oil and you have vinegar.
Yeah, and you got to shake it up.
You have the dressing there.
Yeah. How's our bread doing?
Let's take a look. Having said you won't burn it on the stovetop, I want to make sure we don't burn it on the stovetop. You can, it's doing beautifully. See how we're getting just a little color on it? Nice flip trick.
Hey,
that's another magic trick.
I learned that in my cooking school days.
And you're brave enough to do it on camera there. So we can feel it's, that's pretty exciting.
It's one of those things I taught Tim. He knows how to do it too.
I always am afraid I'm going to dump it. So we're going to put the onion in next. And the reason we're going to put the onion in next is because when we put that into a vinegar solution, I don't want that. I want this thing. Thank you. When we put that into a vinegar solution, it'll start actually pickling a little and take some of the rawness out of that. And I'm going to show you a fun cutting technique for this.
And red onion is also a great onion to use in a salad because it has a nice sweet pungent taste.
It does. And it's a beautiful color.
Yeah, I like that.
So if we just started, we want thin slices. If we just started doing it like this, we'd have a little slice that size, and we'd have a big slice this size. So we're going to do what I've frequently heard called a French cut for onions. When you look at your onion, it's striated, sort of like a pumpkin would be. And what we're going to do is follow those lines. And what we're going to wind up with, every one of our onion slices will be the same size. See how they're all...
I never knew that. I've learned something new.
This is one of those little tricks that...
Every time we cook together, Pat, I learn something new.
Well, that's good. I hope it's stuff you like.
It is. Very much so.
But you see how every one of these slices are the same size. Now, people might say, well, so what? Well, if you're cooking, or even if you're putting... First of all, it looks pretty. But if you're cooking with it, it means it's all going to cook the same, or it's all going to pickle the same. For our salad, it's just going to all look the same and be pretty. But we don't have any little pieces. We don't have any big pieces. This is the good way to do it.
I don't want to miss any of the goodness.
No. And what's going to happen is that the acid will start actually pickling. Even for these few minutes, it will start to pickle and take some of the bite out of the onion while still leaving onion flavor. So I'm just getting it good and mixed up. If you really are sensitive to onion flavor, you could also soak it in ice water for a few minutes, and that would take some of the bite out too.
Bread.
That's perfect.
Perfect.
And no oven, not even a dirty pan, really.
And not even a burnt smell.
No, it's perfect, Joe. But part of that is because you remember it was there.
I burnt enough in my life not to have it burn all the time.
So do you want to peel? We're going to peel the cucumbers, not necessarily necessary, but for this salad, I think you get more flavor out of it. So here's I like fun facts. When they say cool as a cucumber, the internal temperature of a cucumber is usually 10 to 15 degrees cooler than the outside temperature. Now somebody actually did a study of that. I don't know who and I don't know why, but I think it's a fun thing to know.
I'm going to get a garbage bowl.
Okay, that's a good idea. That's a Rachel Ray trip too, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I'm going to take the tips off. So what we're going to do with the cucumber, and you have to adjust for what size you have with the cucumber. This one's pretty small. We're going to cut it in half, and we're going to seed it. And I know I put a spoon out here. Here it is. And seeding it just means you're going to take the tip of the spoon, and we're going to, thanks for the bowl, and just go like this, and we will scrape out those seeds. So the seeds are watery. They're bitter. Yeah, let's put them both in. We've got a lot of onion. Just hollow it out like that. The seeds are watery and they're bitter. We don't need these. Extremely easy to take out. Just a plain old spoon.
We're taking out the internal temperature.
Yeah, we're going to take the temperature. That's a new COVID thing. By the way, for anyone who's interested or worried about it, Joe is the only person, and Tim, that I don't have a mask on with, and vice versa. We're very careful, but we're in the bubble, I guess, right?
Yeah. We've kind of been together. We've quarantined enough to know that we can be at the same place and we feel safe. But understand this, when we are out and about, we both wear masks.
Absolutely.
In public.
And social distance and everything else. But this is sort of a special safety thing that we've worked out and we feel good about it. So we want to keep everything in about 1-inch pieces, about the same size as the bread is. So we're going to cut this in quarters and then just chop it up and put that in there. Sometimes when you use cucumbers, you might want to salt it and let it drain a little, but we actually want all these juices, don't we?
Well, the juices are what make the Panzanella salad so fresh.
Exactly.
I
And
want
that's
that fresh taste.
and it's the reason that it gets even better as it sits, because the juices mingle more. So here's a fun, here's me with dropping things, but I got so excited about this fun fact, Joe.
I love
When
the
this
fun
when this salad first started, there were no tomatoes in Italy. It was first mentioned in 1350, and tomatoes didn't actually get to Italy until 1550. Nor did red peppers. And everyone thought they were poison. They're part of the nightshade family. The nightshade, eggplant, peppers, tomatoes, and nightshade is a poison.
Poison.
So for 200 years, they never cooked with tomatoes in Italy, even after they got it. It was about 1750 when they first started using tomatoes, and then everything exploded.
Well, you know, it's funny because when my grandmother used to make this salad, most times it was just cucumbers, onions, and the bread.
And that's the real traditional one. She's doing it the very authentic way. So our peppers, we've talked about this before. We're looking for sort of a hollow feel. With those cucumbers, we were looking for heavy. We wanted to feel a lot of water in it. With our peppers, we don't want a lot of seeds in the middle, so a little heavier. Now you could use red or orange, or I wouldn't use green because it'd be probably a little bit bitter, but
Now you see the way we both cut peppers differently? Pat cuts them off the side and then discards it. I cut the top off and then utilize the knife, the bottom and the knife. I pop out the center and I will use the top of it because that's good flavor too.
it is. And when you're using, obviously for stuffed peppers, I would do it that way, or if we were doing rings a different way. This is actually, doing it on the sides, cutting the cheeks off like that is a restaurant trick because it's fast.
Yeah.
But it's not as thrifty.
And I want to say, I think you already told me that, but you can see how well I listen.
Well, I don't even know if I told you that. I don't listen either, apparently.
It's habit.
It is. There was one time when I was saying something to my husband that I thought was extremely important, and I realized he didn't look like he was paying any attention. I said, are you not listening? And he said, oh, I stopped listening a while ago.
I hate to say that, but I think I do that with my wife as well.
They just turn off,
yeah,
right?
I think it's just, okay, we're done.
I'm gonna put this in. And we are going to use the tomatoes just because we have them. A lot of old recipes were based on what was available.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you didn't have, if you were poor, if you were in a farm, if they didn't have this close to you, you didn't use it. But since doesn't that look beautiful?
It's good already.
Absolutely. Absolutely beautiful color.
Look at the colors. And this is one of the reasons we picked this, is it's summertime, it's coming to the end of summer, we're in the end of August. You got all these fresh vegetables from your garden, and the colors are so bright and vibrant. You know, we eat with our eyes. if it's not something that looks appealing, even if it tastes spectacular, our eyes deceive us.
Yes.
Because we want it to taste as well as it looks.
And they say some of that is genetic. For instance, something that's red is probably ripe and fresh. And even though we're not thinking that way, in our genes from way back it said, oh, this is probably good to eat now.
We kind of figured it out.
Yeah. Where the blue thing or the black thing maybe was
it didn't look as
not so
appetizing.
good. We're going to use cherry tomatoes. You could use any kind you want. Cherries are sweeter. They're always good.
Now, how do you want to cut these?
Just in half, and which
Long
way?
way or? Here we go.
Around the equator.
Around the equator. Okay. Again.
Tell us why.
Gets better coverage, isn't it?
Get more juice
More
out.
juice
Yes.
out of them.
And we'll say that again. Stem end, blossom end. That's how it grows. If we cut this way, see how it's pretty closed up? If we cut around the equator, this is called pole to pole. If we cut around the equator like Joe's doing, you're opening up the cherry tomatoes so that all of the juices come out. And in this case, that's exactly what we're looking for.
Let me ask you, why haven't we put the bread in?
Actually, we could. Because I started talking and forgot.
Oh, just okay.
We could at any point now because it could be absorbed.
Yeah, and here's the thing. When my grandmother used to make this salad, the bread was always the last thing that went in because my grandfather liked the crunch.
You liked crunch.
I liked it when it got soft.
I like it when it gets soft too. So, and that's a good point, Joe. If you were making this is maybe a lot of salad for somebody. Easy to cut it down, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But let's say you like the crunch. Then just toss part of it with the bread. Put the crunch in again tomorrow, the crunchy bread. And, that way, if you like it soggy, like you and I do, we let it sit there as long as we can so that it absorbs everything. Let me get that bread.
You getting all this, Tim? That was a thumbs up. He won't talk.
Think you'll make it at the fire department?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's like, no.
And I don't think the guys will eat a Panzanella salad, will they?
So as I said, that salad would have been just fine without the bread as well. But the bread adds that thickness to it. The crunch, and protein. Gluten is actually a protein. Man cannot live by bread alone, but it helps. A lot of people live by bread.
I don't know if I can handle a meal without bread.
I'm a bread lover too.
Just keep the bread coming and I'm happy.
And we have one more thing to add. I'm going to open this one. So first of all, never buy what I just am opening the way I bought it. This is capers. It's going to add a nice millennial feel to it.
Millennial?
Well, I'm
Where did you
sure
come
that
up
your
with
grandmother
millennial?
didn't do that, right? But
No, we didn't use many capers.
it's got that briny, salty flavor to it. Look how beautiful that is. That's just absolutely delicious. Why I'm saying don't buy it like this is because this was $4.99. And if you go to Gallucci's or Ferraro's or Aleshi's or Costco, you can get a jar like this for like $4.99. It keeps forever. It keeps forever.
Because they're brine. They're
They're
salty.
brine. It's like a pickle.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pour a little juice off because we don't. But I'm not going to be too particular about it because we want some salty stuff, and we're going to pour some of these in.
Is this little?
Thank you. They really are fun to use, and they do add. Oh, let's put it on, right?
Oh, might as well. Spend $4.99.
Yeah, what the heck? We're gonna look how beautiful that looks.
Now you notice the only salt we did use was in the dressing because the capers are salty, and we don't want to add any more salt to it until we taste it.
And the vinaigrette we made with the Dijon and the red wine vinegar is going to add a little more punch. So how about you taste it and see if we need anything else?
I'm gonna have to get.
That
Watch
is
yourself here. I get a spoon.
I got a little spoon here.
I'm going to try to get a little bit of everything.
Of everything. That's
Tomato, bread, cucumbers, and onion, and I'm not getting it. So I'm going to use my fingers.
use your fingers. If we can go without a mask, we can use our fingers. I let him do it so I wouldn't.
I'm going to do it this way.
That makes sense. This makes a lot, as you can see. Very easy to cut it in half. We're going to post the recipe for you. Just use less of it. It also keeps really well. Are we okay with salt and stuff?
I don't think we need anything.
Good.
Maybe a little pepper.
Okay.
I like pepper with everything.
My husband likes pepper a lot too.
And that's it, you guys.
That's it.
Look how simple. In less than 30 minutes, we have a light, refreshing summer salad made with all the vegetables from your garden, or if you had a chance to stop at the market. This is the kind of stuff that is healthy, it's good for you, and it's fun to make.
And what I like is, you said it's healthy, and it is, but we're making it because it's delicious and it's healthy. We're not eating something that came out of a little capsule, or that you have to hold your nose as you eat it. This is good food.
This is good food.
And it's good for you, and that's what food should be. So we hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for sharing with us and your time with us. I hope you'll try it. Let us know if you did.
Yeah,
We'd
and
like
we're
to know
sorry
that.
we're sorry that we couldn't do live.
Yeah.
But we'll post it very soon, and hopefully you can hear us better. Please let us know if you can't, and we're still working on some of the little kinks to get it out here. If you have any recipes that you'd like us to try that are light, healthy, and good for you, send it all on our way, and we will take a look at it and see if we can put it together for you. Have a good day, you guys.
Thanks for sharing.